Hello everyone, welcome to Jackie Does Stuff. I'm Jackie, and I do stuff, and today I want to show you a little bit more of my garden, so check it out. Right, so I've come to a stopping point in the project that I was working on, so I thought you guys might want to check out some of what I got going on out here. So this right here is what I call like the main bed, and that's because it's the place in my garden that gets the most sunlight. It's the most southern facing, and it is not around kind of like this weird shape that my house makes. Over here is what I call the strawberry patio, but it's not quite there yet. These right here are some strawberries, which are big and beautiful and all that stuff, but I'm hoping that it will take over this entire kind of rectangle down here, and so I'm gonna have to kind of get in there and really make sure that I weed out everything that isn't a strawberry and make sure that I encourage the strawberries to kind of go in that way. And ultimately I want to be able to kind of like put a border around it using some of these here fence panels that I've taken down. But that is kind of a project for another day. In another video I showed you guys my beautiful meadow. It is so gorgeous. It's the best it's ever looked, to be honest with you. Over here is what I'm calling the grove. It's got that Thuja occidentalis, that eastern white cedar there that I planted, and a couple of other small trees are growing in there. This one is a box elder maple that I didn't plant there, but I let it grow because there's another box elder maple over there behind the fence that's getting horribly mutilated by, being squished in between the fences, and I felt really bad about it, so I thought I'd let one of its babies live instead. We got some swamp oaks that are growing in. I think those came because of the mulch that I put down here. I get the mulch from Chip Drop, or I did before my partner asked me to stop getting mulch. But yeah, I have found that I have kind of a hard time growing trees. This tree right here was like my fourth attempt at growing a tree. I think she's doing great, but it was a long process. But whenever a tree starts growing here, I just kind of leave it because I'm like, well, maybe it's in a place I don't want it to be, or maybe it's like a type of tree that I don't necessarily want, but it's like, if it wants to grow and it doesn't need my help, just leave it. We'll see. We'll deal with that problem later. That's tomorrow's problem. This is another tree, believe it or not. This is a Japanese banana, Musabazju. It is very, very small right now because I haven't been really on top of feeding it this year, but this is a volunteer from last year. The one that I grew last year, I guess that they're not really supposed to be annuals, they're supposed to be perennials, but because I live in New England, banana trees are not really well suited here, but that particular banana, Japanese banana, is suited to zone 7, which is where I live, but it doesn't produce fruit. It instead produces these big, beautiful leaves, which are actually kind of like, it's not really a tree. The whole thing is like the stalk made up of the leaves kind of like layered on top of each other. But these are, banana leaves are, first of all, really interesting to cook with. You can like wrap your stuff in it and then steam it, which gives it a lovely little banana flavor. But also you can use it in textile production, which is something that I find really interesting, growing plants that you can use to turn into cloth and stuff. Banana fiber is great for that. I have some milkweeds also. Milkweed is good for that. And yeah, especially if it is something that was going to be here anyway, like the milkweed, and something you wanted to grow for a particular reason, like the milkweed. Like I'm encouraging the milkweed because I want monarch butterflies to come to my garden. It always helps to kind of like get 2 or 3 different outputs out of one input. That is a very, very good way of maximizing your garden's productivity. And see, we got some more swamp oaks and stuff growing in there. If all of these trees grew to their full size, I don't know what I'd even do with myself. Over here is some mushrooms. These are 4 different types of oyster mushrooms, and the reason I chose those is because oysters will eat fucking anything, to be honest. Like these ones I have mixed up with shredded paper, like newspaper and shopping bags and stuff. The output is not great. Actually, yeah, see, here's one right there. That's an oyster. It's not that big, and it will get a little bit bigger, but ultimately not that big. Yeah, there's some more down in there. There's a blue oyster right there. It's not that big, but considering the input that I put in, just shredded paper and water and kind of moving them over here to a shady area and keeping an eye on them. I would call it like low input, medium output. So I think that's pretty cool. I do need to up my mushroom game in the future though. But right now I'm kind of just working with what I've got. I'm kind of doing some like lazy gardening out here because I find that lazy gardening is better than no gardening at all. Oh, that's a bucket that I put all the stones in that I find when I dig them up. Oh, and you can't really see it, but I have kind of like a path going there into the meadow because I kind of have this fantasy that one day I'm going to kind of like put a wooden, fence around the outside with some, cord or something in order to keep the plant matter contained within the meadow so that it doesn't spill out like it's doing here on the front. And then I would also outline the path in there so that the meadow could be fully grown and you could still kind of go in there and be in the center of it. I think that would be really neat. But the reason that I wanted to the reason I wanted to bring you on my little journey today is because of this right here. This is, I guess what you might call a chicken coop. It's not done yet. I got a couple of chicken coop patterns online. They're so available for free online. People really want to share their patterns with you. I'm working with all these scrap from the fence that I took down, the fence that was all up in here and then kind of continued off that way. The reason I took it down is because, as you can see, the wood is kind of old and some of it was breaking and there's a lot of wind, and so it was really dangerous to keep it up. So I literally just went in with a wrecking bar and I just pulled the whole thing down one board at a time. And I'm building some stuff with the scraps of it. I'm also kind of outlining my garden with it. And my hope is that I can use it to learn on, because I can cut it up and make a bunch of mistakes on it. I can throw it out, I can burn it, I can shred it, I can do whatever I need to do. And it was all free. So, but yeah, let me show you what I've got going on here with this chicken coop. So I have, it's about 19 inches this way. And then all of this, I think this is probably like 8 or 9 feet. This is longer than I am tall. And then it's about as tall as I am. So it's about 6 feet high, maybe a little bit higher. And I just built these so these are like the braces for the fence. And then these are the panels for the fence. And that's it so far. And all the nails that I have put the whole thing together came from the fence. So I took the panels down and then I took a hammer and I pulled all the nails out. And some of them were destroyed, but I got a whole lot of nails out of it. So I created these two little platforms, which are not really very sturdy. I got to solve that problem. But I got one over here and one over there. And what I'm in the process of doing right now is building 2 nest boxes, which I'm just cutting out some pieces of wood. These are 19 inches in order to fit right there. And I am gluing them together and I'm clamping them. And I got to find another clamp because this one's not actually wide enough to fit all of them. But yeah, this is all experimenting. I'm kind of just figuring this out as I go along. And it's been a really great learning experience so far. I'm sure that I'm due to learn a lot more before it's all done. I've also created it so that it doesn't go in the ground, but I have kind of like the pointed part of the fence panel down so that I can pick this whole thing up and I can kind of like move it over or move it over there, or I can pick it up and move it anywhere. And then I can kind of just tap it down and it will kind of stick itself into the ground wherever you put it. Like I said, I don't know how this is going to work. I'm going to learn a lot by doing this, and it's not really going to cost me anything because I'm using all materials that I already had. So what I needed to do is 2 nest boxes. I'm building, of course, just a regular square box, and then I'm probably going to go to the hardware store and get a hinge, because I could probably jury rig a hinge with some of the wood that I have lying around, or even some of the metal that I have around. But I think it would probably just be easier if I just go and get one. There's no need for that right now, but I do have a hope in my heart to one day have a small forge that I can throw all of these nails in and melt them down and create all sorts of iron works. But yeah, one of the boxes is going to go right here, or it's going to go rather right here on the outside of the coop, because I think that will give them a little bit of extra space. This is pretty narrow so that I can fit it everywhere in my yard, but I want to make sure that the gals have enough room. So I could put it on the inside and put the box right here. But I think if I put it on the outside, that will give them just that little bit extra room. I think that'll make them happy. And then I have to create some ladders that go, from here to the ground and from here to either here or the ground. Little, pegs for them to stand and roost on. And I want to make sure that these get held up, that the ladders and stuff can get stuck down into the ground without having to be installed in the ground so that the whole thing can be mobile. I also want to put, I was going to say chicken wire, but actually I don't have any, but what I do have is this garden wire over here that I used to have around one of my garden beds that I didn't need it for anymore. So I'm going to repurpose that, put that up around, around the outside. And I have a staple gun that I inherited from my dad, and I'm going to try that out and see if that works. It may not, we'll find out. But what I really want to do is I want to make sure that I have like a door somewhere up in here so that I can open it and get in there if I need to. And of course I will need to, because the chickens will need to have water and food and everything. But on the back of the nesting boxes, there is going to be, a door so that I can open it and access eggs and things. So I will be able to get in and out of it, but I want to make sure that I have a better way of properly getting in case something goes really, really wrong. And then I guess I don't know what I'm going to do at the top. We're going to figure that one out as we go. I think that I'm going to want to put some sort of covering up here, like some sort of, my beautiful green garden shed fell over and got destroyed. So that has a roof with some shingles, and then there's I think some of those shingles up there in the basement because the people who owned this house before we did, they did some house renovation work, so they have some stuff down there. So I got to figure that out, but I'm kind of just doing this project as I go along because I don't really want to get too hung up on it being perfect. I just want to get hung up on it getting done. So yeah, for now, nest boxes, and then once I get those mounted on here, then I'm going to do the ladders, and then once I do that, then I'm going to do the chicken wire, and then I guess I don't know what I'm going to do after that. We'll figure that out. But thank you so much for coming along with me on this journey. It means the world to me. It would mean the world to me if you would tell people about me and, like, subscribe, all that other fun stuff. Because, it's rough out here and your girl could use some views. Yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.